Well, welcome to the show, everybody. We're just a couple of guys talking under Thieves League of Legends.
I'm just so glad to be back. Cole, it feels like I'm awakening from hibernation.
Spring split. Wake up, Papa Bear.
It's 100. What is it? 153 days. How many times did they say that? I should know this. 153 days since the last game of the LCS. When they say that, I'm like 1 year they're gonna say it's been 1,600 days since the last LCS. What? How is that even possible? But yeah, it feels like it's been a long time, Cole.
Yeah, should have left you without a dope pod to rest too.
That's right.
We are finally back. We did our power rankings last week. That was really fun. But what we didn't do during that stream is take anything seriously for a minute. So here we're going to make up for that, and we're going to do some 100 talking. It's been a predictable start. Yeah. Are you surprised by anything? I
have my surprises here and there. I will save them for the pod, but it's not going to be cool. This is not going to be just like a straightforward wonder what the dads will say. Oh wait, I already know. It's not going to be that. I got some surprises.
You got some twists and turns.
Yeah,
maybe some denouement at some point.
Denouement. Wait. I watched this movie, The Menu, the other day.
Don't know it.
Pretty popular film. You might not have heard of it. They use this word. It's like, and I know this is not from the movie. It's this fancy. You said denouement. It reminded me of amuse-bouche, which is like you heard that phrase?
Yes.
Okay. I just love that word. I just love that phrase. You said denouement. It reminded me of it. We're speaking French now. Amuse-bouche. Well, amuse-bouche. This is going to be an amuse-bouche for. Yeah. Elgato product manual lore reading redemptions are
Sandwich fulfilled. Redeemed 1 million channel points. So Jordan is going to do this whole episode in French.
Put it on the menu, Cole. Somebody will do it.
Right.
Et voila.
What he said.
Have I been cooking? BC asked, have I been cooking?
Stop it.
Cole?
Stop it. Stop.
Welcome back to the LCS. Welcome to Hunter Talk. We're going to be cooking. We'll workshop that some more. Gosh. But I think directionally it's correct. You got any others for us early on, Cole?
They got an entire year's worth of use out of one phrase in one weekend.
They got to have I hope that they called an emergency meeting after that. I hope they stayed after and like, look, guys, that was pretty cool. It sounded pretty good. It was nice. You killed it. It's dead now. You may not say that. There will be disciplinary action taken for anybody else who uses that phrase. It's done. You had a good thing, and you've ruined it. It's gone. They have to stop saying it now. I think it was during our game. They had their aside about like, what do you like to cook? Are you much of a cook? I was like, come on. We're already in derivative territory. It's been 45 minutes.
Latigris had that like, who knew olives were going to be the best ingredient in this cooking stream? I was like, oh my God. We got through it all in the whole.
They jumped the shark.
A whole year worth of cooking.
Fewer than one broadcast, under one broadcast before they completely murder a phrase which otherwise I think had potential. You sprinkle it in. We'll continue the cooking analogy. You just sprinkle it in. You give a little amuse-bouche hole. You just give a tease and you bring it back next week.
We have been doing the podcast for like 6 minutes now, and we haven't even started yet.
I can't help myself. I'm sorry, but we can put that one to bed. If anybody has been watching us for more than a season, they know that this is one of the most important meta topics in 100 Talk history. It's Cole. It's playing with their food. It's on a knife's edge, or they say razor's edge. Every season they get these. We found it early. The meta has been set. I think they got to nuke it. Just like Cassante, get him out of the game. What are they doing? Come on now.
Well, I must have been resting on the arrow key because you've slowly drifted to one side on the screen, and it was uncontrollable. So, sorry, let me adjust that quick. Well, now, everybody, welcome to 100 Talk. Okay.
Can we say who we are, what we do, what this is, what we are about, who we're powered by?
Sure, you're really good at those things, so I'll let you do it.
All right, Cole. This is it. This is the definitive 100 Thieves LCS podcast. We do other stuff. We dabble, Cole. You and I. We've been known to do a COD pod here and there. A fast I can't even say the name of that show anymore. That's how long it's been. A fast peak last week, now and again, if you're talking about Valorant. This is home. This feels like home, right?
It does feel like home.
LCS.
Sandwich.
It's honestly
fast pot last one.
Fast pot last one. That's about what I said.
That was the OG.
Anyhow, Cole and I, we've been watching and talking about 100 Thieves LCS since 2018 established. And you can't really say that out loud, can you? You have to write that EST.
Mm-hmm.
We're not good at League of Legends. We're not even really good at talking about League of Legends, but here we are still going strong. I thought for a moment there we might outlast the LCS, Cole. Who would have thunk it? But we're back. LCS is back. I hope that we have a chance to talk about how dead the LCS is. Because, spoiler alert, I'm feeling a little bit optimistic. I don't know about you.
Ooh.
But
well, since we
I know it's not popular to say.
Since we don't talk general topics, we'll never talk about it.
Oh, dang it. But we've got to talk about it in terms of 100 Thieves and the implications there.
Sure.
So anyway, don't come to us for your in-depth analysis and meta breakdowns, build guides for Cassante, because you don't have to look up a single guide for that boneheaded champion.
Just play it. Yep.
Just play it. Just buy recommended. Full tank. Doesn't matter. Anyway, that's what we do. And it's Monday. Here's a crazy thing. We got games like imminently, Cole. The next week is nearly upon us. We have 3 games this week.
Yeah.
Does anybody know how that works?
Super week.
Would you start at 8:15 a.m. on Tuesday and then play again on what's the? I don't know how this works.
They do a lock-in at the studio, and they just pull. They have a few
last team standing. Yeah. No one can go in the library. It's closed.
They got permission slips for Busio and Tenacity to be there.
That's right. They needed them. Get the parental release form.
Oh, we are
so
far off the rails.
I'm powered tonight by Rip It. And look, I didn't even prejuvenate with this thing. This is still closed, sealed. And I'm about
Mint and sealed can.
About to crack this open. You have a listen. A gander with your ears.
Do some ear hustling.
Those are good. Those are very good. I'm gonna just pour this on my lap, and then we'll be good to go.
I'm drinking the that G-Force today.
You
know, got myself the purple can. Everybody knows purple is always a good flavor.
It's been so long since I've had a Rip It, by the way. 153 days.
Okay.
I had to. I'm sorry. All right.
Okay.
What is this show? What are we going to talk about tonight? Who is this? What are we doing here?
All right. Let's talk about the games. Let's talk about
Let's talk about it.
Unfortunately, we had to open against C9. And, you know, where did C9 fall in everybody's power ranking? Somewhere around like 3rd, right?
Yeah,
I'd have to check our power rankings to kind of get the aggregate.
If I'm trawling the memory banks there, I'm going to say like probably average 3, low 5. I don't think I saw anybody put them 6th, but somewhere around there.
Well, they looked 2 or 3 this weekend, and they looked okay versus us. Now, the problem is we weren't just playing Cloud9 this weekend. Tenacity was actually playing the metagame against 200 years of Riot's money extracting misbehavior. And maybe, you know, that was something we semi opted into by virtue of not banning it.
Right. We had a chance. We had our chance.
But this game was mostly between Cassante and, you know, the game in which Cassante is the character.
Yeah. Honestly, that was the meta game. It was a mini game.
Yeah.
Can you defeat one champion?
Yeah.
Challenge level impossible. Is that how the meme works? I don't know.
It's almost like, you know how if you play like Super Mario 3D World and you can have Nabbit as your character, where it's like he doesn't, or is it Nabbit or something else? There's some other character where it's like he doesn't take damage, and if he falls into a pit, he just like gets in a bubble and comes right back out.
Right.
It was kind of like Cassante for this weekend.
Honestly.
Now,
just
disclaimer time. Oh, already first disclaimer of the split, man. People who have been listening to pod for a long time know there's nothing I love more than a good disclaimer. And I want to be fair in the interest of being fair and balanced. Okay, Fudge,
which is what we are.
May not like the guy.
Yeah, that's an understatement in action. We're seeing it here.
That's the disclaimer. No, hold on. I may not like the guy. He's a good top laner, man. He's very good. I have to admit, look, he's very good.
This is a big moment in the history of our show. I want to respect you. I want to appreciate what you're doing. This is big. I want to say I'd like to see him play a different champion before I attribute any kind of evaluation of him for this split. It's like he has what's an analogy? Like in baseball, right? If you go out and you pitch like one pitch and the batter reaches base on an error and then they pull you, it's like you didn't play, right? Like from a stat standpoint, you could have been sleeping during that time, and it's the same statistical record. I view Fudge as not having yet participated in the LCS 2023. He needs to play a champion that's not Cassante before I will grant him that. It's possible that he's still good because he has been good. It's not. I don't think you can't judge it yet. You see what I'm saying?
I like this because you refuse to like look at the historical record at all, and that's some Cole energy. So thank you for bringing the Cole energy tonight. Look,
I'm doing what I can.
I'm just saying. Look, we're gonna talk some mess about Cassante and Fudge.
I can't wait.
Fudge is a good top laner. All right.
I got an early start. I didn't waste a single moment before I got mine in.
And I'm proud of you. So he's good. But still, come on, man. You saw that champion. That champion has like 50,000 dashes, 4 knockups. He built full tank and he's still out damaging everybody. I mean, what are you supposed to do, man? Honestly, what are you supposed to do?
I genuinely don't know. You know, it's usually like, well, woulda, coulda, shoulda. You should have built the Zonias. You know, it's like, no, there's nothing. There's no item.
What I don't get is how Riot started out. Like, there are 4 ability keys, right? There's Q, W, E, and R. Mm-hmm. So how do they make a champion like Cassante where he clearly has like 12 abilities?
Because when you press R, Cole, you flip it all on its head. He gets 16 more. He unlocks the full keyboard at that point. Think about it. The second row of keys are all stuns. They're micro stuns. You just layer them.
I hate this crap.
Worst. Yeah.
Every time.
It's Aphelios. We're doing Aphelios. Part 2.
Every time there's a new champ. This is what it is. Can we just GA new champs out of pro play for a while?
You know, it's funny you say that. I was with some people this weekend, and you know what they said to me? Cassante is the last champion. And I laughed.
So they wanted to make him the final boss?
The raid boss every yeah. I didn't look, I never, you know, that I have taken a step back from the civilized world. I basically live in a shack in the woods at this point with how far removed I am from Twitter. They said that, and they weren't joking. They said that Riot has said, I don't know if this is true. Somebody needs to verify this. I'm going to keep my eye on chat here in case there's any good chatters in the chat. But they said that Riot has been clear that they intend for this to be the last champion that's released. And they're just going to do like reworks, updates, VGUs.
I fear that when people click on our podcast, we're going to have the little misinformation box.
It's possible, man.
Because I feel like we are spreading misinformation now.
Look, chat so far is not.
I don't think
verifying.
This is right.
I will I'll leave room for this to be wrong, but I will tell you, I felt a glimmer of hope in my League of Legends heart when I heard that.
Allow me to
It would
dash
be-
it. Okay, listen.
It's not true.
Listen.
Dang it.
Let's place a bet on whether you think Riot
Mm.
will refuse to make another thing that they can sell people in the game or not.
I didn't say it was the last Lux skin, Cole. I said it was the last champion. So they got plenty of room for revenue coming in. But I'm seeing chat. I'll grant it.
The next champion is Lux's sister, and they can just continue to make Lux skins.
You know how this works, Cole. The next champion is Lux's sister. There's going to be new. Her name's going to be Perry. New Perry skins. You know that's what they name her.
Perry, short for Periwinkle.
Exactly. Here's the good news. It's a Skarner rework. The lore ties in. They've been sisters all along. You just didn't realize it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they'll find a way. I'll grant it. Maybe I was being optimistic, but it feels like the kind of champion that they've messed up badly enough. They should retire from this endeavor. No more new champions. Call it. Admit that you've made grievous errors and ask Fudge to redo games 1 and 2.
Grievous wounds. Yes, you've caused grievous wounds.
Yeah, we're all suffering from reduced healing because of this.
So, asking Fudge to replay games 1 and 2 would be ideal for us at the moment, but
yeah, we should see if we can make it happen.
In reality, he had a 1v1 with Tenacity. That was about as close as a 1v1 could ever be. It was basically who has the faster attack speed at the end. And then, of course, it's, Fudge with the outplay.
I know.
Okay. All right. That's what it is, I guess, theoretically, because he won it. And then there's just a snowball from there. He became extremely powerful. Because when you take the most OP champion in the game and continue to inject gold at a faster rate than everybody else, turns out it gets difficult. So there's got to be something to be said here about the type of game we chose to play against C9, right? Because we're working with what should be a kind of tough tough draft to execute, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got Poke Varus, we've got Azir support, which is a choice. Got Silas, Viego, Jax. It's basically like we got to have things go very right in a very specific way and then not make any mistakes to the Cassante.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like we maybe fell in love with the idea of what we did instead of being like, should we do this and should it work? Oh, did we lose Jordan?
Just my camera.
Just your camera. Okay.
Back.
All right. Welcome back. Oh, welcome back.
Well.
Good thing we've got your backup image here. Okay.
Yeah.
So while you continue to work on that, we got you covered.
Discord. Awesome.
So it's almost like you're walking this tightrope, right? Of a very difficult execution. And then as soon as you make one mistake, it doesn't matter what else was happening, right? Like we were off to a good start in the jungle. Like Closer was far ahead of Blabber. We were off to a good start in bot lane. Whoop, that's the wrong thing. There's Jordan. Off to a great start in bot lane. Like we had things going okay, but it's just you make that one mistake and Fudge survives with 4 HP or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And the game's kind of over. So are we sure that's the right kind of game we want to play when we're, dealing with 2 rookies?
I'm not mad about it at all, to be honest with you. I mean, like, it's easy to say, and, I think League is just this kind of game, right? There's one moment, had it gone differently, how different could the game have been? I mean, Cassante, busted champ. Viego was completely irrelevant in this game. Like, and that's not because Closer did a bad job. He needs resets. We had 0 opportunities for a reset. If he could have taken Cassante, if we could have killed Cassante in any one of these fights, suddenly we have Cassante. It would have worked really nicely, I think. So, look, we didn't get to talk about our expectations for this team at all because we were busy doing other really important things, obviously. But what I will say is, I think I'm totally fine with us doing this kind of playstyle. In some ways, it feels liberating to not have, like, when we had the same roster running it back, the championship team, who the expectation is we're going to repeat. You don't get to lose a game without a high level of scrutiny.
Yeah.
For us, I think we've actually done a really good job of, and not you and me, but the team. And I'm thinking specifically about people like Doublelift. I think the rookies have done a good job of kind of keeping it, being confident, but still remaining humble. So all these things, they just contribute to me saying, you know what, try stuff. Yeah. Like, don't be so precious with every game that you don't get to build your identity as a team. And for that reason, totally comfortable with this kind of game. I'm not worried about the outcome at all, in part because I think if we ban Cassante, it's a very different kind of game, and one that there's a chance that we just continue to snowball our leads across the different places you mentioned and get a different outcome.
Yeah.
So I think there's enough to look at to say, yeah, this went well, that I'm very, very, very far. I'm standing in a different room. I've left my panic button at the office and I don't have any urge to go get it. I think it's fine, the outcome. And I'm interested in how their match fixing investigation is going against Golden Guardians for not banning Cassante in game 2 for Cloud9.
Yeah, that definitely, I don't know.
They need
what happened there.
They need to speed that up.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's fine. Like, I think I'm okay with that. I think the Azir pick was a little much, personally. I was told that this is a known hard counter to Heimerdinger support.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also told it's been played virtually never. Pro play?
Yeah. Yep.
And I heard, gosh, I think it was JLXP, where Emily was bringing up that Wink had played it in Demacia Cup. And she goes, well, but he was role swap, so I guess that's different. I'm like, oh, well, Busio role swap too. And it also was a loss. So I'm not, hasn't gone well for anybody, I guess. The pick's 0-4, I think she said, or something like that. I don't know.
Like across global in the last 200 years.
But wasn't it weird seeing an Azir support where you're like, I wasn't sure what he was doing once we got past the early game, because the thing that was driving me crazy was like, where's the ult? Where's the ult? Like, right. I want to see the ult. I want to see the ult. And I think I realized that I think they tried to keep it simple for Busio, as simple as you can make playing Azir support in your first LCS game. I think they said only use the ult to peel for Doublelift. Just peel for Doublelift. Just keep him alive. And I think that was like, seriously, it was like, you have one job kind of role for him.
Right.
Didn't go that well.
Yeah. I think my take on it would be, it's kind of like that's a fancy idea for an engage support. Like you've got an engage and it's got a pretty decent cooldown, but good luck finding a more devastating one. But I think he was put in a position where he had to use it defensively all the time. Yeah. That was the only time you could ever use it, was as a emergency peel. And that's, like anytime you have a champ who has a very specific thing that they're supposed to do, and the game state dictates that you do something entirely different with it, that player will always look like they're AFK, right?
Fair enough.
So I get it. Sympathy for that. I mean, the thing that I'm more interested in is how does he, like, the fact that they were willing to do this, I think says a lot about, I'm reading in between the lines now. Sure. I think it says a lot about who he is as a player, right? Debut LCS game. Like, I get the impression he's not overly concerned with how that looks.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's great. You need to have a player who's able to say, hey, look, in this game, I think that makes sense. Draft it for me. Let's see what happens. And at the end of the game, wasn't great. And then he comes back out the next game and it's just fine. Right. Like, you got to have that. You got to be able to bounce back.
Doublelift kind of said as much in his interview with Travis. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like, he's a perfect, perfect teammate, very kind
he's an angel.
person. Yeah. What did he said? He's an
angel.
I thought he said something else like a
teacher's
pet or something like that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, he did say or goody two shoes.
Goody two shoes. Yeah, that's what it was. He said
Yeah,
he was a goody two shoes, and so that I do agree though. I do think that says a lot about him, and then a lot about what this team is going to be willing to do. So hopefully we're not going to fall into the same patterns that we've had in past splits. Obviously that often paid off for us. We are obviously very good for a long time, but somewhat predictable, right? And maybe all they needed to do was just set the stage a little bit. Like, all right, here's Azir support. Game 1. Good luck. We're not, if nothing else, we're not going to be predictable.
Yeah.
So maybe
let's not lose sight too of like, this is a defending champion C9. His first game in the LCS for him and Tenacity is against the champs. They're looking pretty similar. And I think importantly, both of our rookies stepped up and made important plays, right? Like lane phase was a win for us. That's huge. Top lane was a hair, right? It was a fraction of an inch of 200 years away from being a Jax lane. And that's big, right? So I honestly, I left this game feeling like, how many games have we seen, especially with rookies, where it's like, somebody go help the new guy because this has gone sideways.
Yeah.
It wasn't that.
No, it wasn't. And honestly, first game. Second game though was a nice reminder because no matter how poorly the result went in the first game, we have that old familiar Hunter Talk refrain. At least we're not immortals.
That's right. That is correct.
And I think I feel bad, right? I feel very bad, especially because Kenvi is on Immortals, and Kenvi he had such a movement of support behind him, and it was like Kenvi's this excellent, incredible jungler. Can't wait to get him on LCS. And then he just landed on a tough environment to thrive in. And as much as it gives me pleasure to get a nice big win, especially as a bounce back, I miss the old guy, and I'm sad to see him, basically 1v9 in his games. And I hope he gets a shot somewhere else.
I agree.
Yeah. What do we even report from this game? You know what? There's one thing. Closer played Sejuani. Do you remember what we thought of that last split?
Did not like.
Nope, not for me, said the bunny. Did not want that. Guess what? Looked pretty solid, man. He was successful early. Didn't he go up 4-0 at one point or something? Am I making that up? I'm probably making that up.
He had a pretty
he finished 4-0, but I swear he got a lot done early. It felt like, and I felt like it was just a more helpful and useful Sejuani than we got in past matchups.
It certainly looked more effective. I think he did a lot more surprise Sejuani. It's like the dash over the wall with the instant whatever button his whiplash is.
You're right.
Into the instant glacial prison. Like he used the element of surprise more. I think in previous games it felt like he was always doing you're playing 500 in the schoolyard and you scream 700 and then it's just like he goes, you throw it as far as you can. It's 20 feet beyond everybody. Exciting moment. Like he was always doing max range glacial prisons and people were able to kind of just sneak out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It felt like his approach to it was different and it seemed more effective.
Yeah. Maybe been brushing up on that in the off season.
Yeah. Honestly, good one to brush up on. It feels like that should be in every jungler's core rotation, just given it seems to be pretty permanent in the meta at this point.
For better or for worse. We did get a nice little moment, I thought. We had a double lift on Zeri, kind of under the radar pop off, I think. That where they tried to jump him in bot lane.
Oh.
Do you remember what I'm talking about? And he he had an excellent dodge on the surprise from the try. And he then just kind of kited away. He got, I think did he get scooped in or something? Like I think
he
Ablaze
ate the whole
Ablaze Olive got him scooped in, flash out, move around,
Mhm.
use all of those area mobility, and it
Yeah.
was just totally fine and was just dealing out damage as he went. And I was like, okay, awesome. Doublelift still
Yeah.
has a little bit of the dog in him, right?
That
That's gonna
fight
be
specifically, you listen to him talk about that fight and how he's like, "Oh, I made a mistake." It looked highly intentional to me. Like, and look, maybe a better team would have been able to actually lock him down and kill him at that point.
Mhm.
If we're not playing Immortals, perhaps that's a mistake.
Yeah.
But what it looked like is he knew he had one more mobility, you know, um, piece in his kit, saved it for the shuffle, got shuffled, flashed out immediately, and just kept pumping out the DPS. Like that was they put all their cards on the table there, and he called that, and then he won the fight. So yeah, I agree with you. It felt to me, and actually the crazy thing is he finished 5-0-9. I think there's a very a couple of things go differently, and he finishes 9-0-5. Right, like.
Yeah.
There were a couple Yumi queues that picked up last hits. There's at least like closer picked up a couple of those. And it wasn't because anybody was griefing. It was just like these fights, that's where they went.
Mhm.
But he was pretty dominant in this, and especially in the team fights. It was really good to see.
It was really good to see.
And especially, not to harp on the past, especially because I don't feel like we've had this kind of Zeri game maybe ever, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, where we're taking advantage of the full kit like you were talking about. I just don't think we ever got it going. So even
Yeah,
if it's just Immortals, it's really good to see that.
I don't know how like literally true it was, because when we were watching FBI on Zeri, it always I don't know about you, but it always felt to me like, well, it's not Berserker, or well, it's not
Exactly.
Danny, right? Like that's what it felt like watching his Zeri, where it was like it didn't ever really seem bad, right? And sometimes he had some moments or whatever, but it didn't feel like we were getting the same, like it wasn't the same champion for him.
Yep.
So seeing that possibility with Doublelift, I think, is a huge plus.
I agree.
So that being said, look, we crushed Immortals. I don't think there's much to say about that game. But I do want to say, so, we talked a little bit about Busio picking the Azir and then get relegated to Yumi duty. I thought the Yumi was fine. I didn't really notice it for the most part, which, I think is a little bit lackluster, because usually in Yumi games it's like, oh, it's so OP, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think like it was a great Yumi game, but it was a fine Yumi game. He got a lot of assists. He kept people alive. Sure, I got no complaints about that game at all. But so we got Azir support for him, and then we got Yumi support. So can we get somewhere like more traditional in the middle support? I think I'd really like to see that. Like what is Busio going to look like on like Alistar or something, or what is he going to look like on Nami? Maybe.
Yeah, I think Lucian Nami still meta, still getting picked up in different places here and there. So far as my light research goes, I think in part we gotta wait for the engage champ buffs to come through. Like I think that's on its way. I think they recognize right now that it's very, very heavily weighted toward Enchanter, which is just kind of boring to watch. I mean, I guess part of the way I always look at a Yumi game is, how did it seem your ADC was doing, and Deathless and all the stuff we were talking about. I don't have a good enough eye. I don't watch enough Yumi, which is not a mistake, to be able to say like what a great Yumi player does versus just an okay one. But I feel like you got to give credit to him, like all the stuff we said about Doublelift. I apply some of that credit, share of it, to Busio, right?
Sure.
Because he was riding shotgun almost the entire game.
Yeah, it's like they say that every major successful company has like a 26-year-old in the low to mid level that's keeping the company alive.
Right.
And it's like, so some of those Busio is probably going to be playing that role a lot this split.
Exactly. Yep.
But I am excited to see him on more traditional sports and see what that looks like. But I hope we don't rush him on anything. Doublelift is so positive on that guy. He's so all in.
He is.
on Busio. And so I want us all to be that way as well. Be like, hey, if he sees the potential, let's see the potential. Let's let him. No, not going to say it. But yeah, Tenacity.
But you're right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Tenacity. Yep. So I think like Tenacity may have a more fraught road ahead of him for a couple reasons. One, solo laner. Two, top laner. Top lane has a lot of strong players in it, and
yeah,
it's not always the easiest to stand out. Plus, I feel like people in their minds kind of already thought of him as an LCS player before this split, because it was like, well, he's in Academy Prison and Thieves. That's
the official line now.
Yeah, that is right. They even said it on broadcast. But I think
which
that
is a good look for Academy, by the way. I'm sure the Academy team would love to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like a lot of people just kind of assumed, okay, this guy's an LCS caliber player, and he's not an LCS, but we're thinking of him in that way. So he doesn't like feel like a rookie in the accountability sense. And I think we need to realize, no, he has played one LCS game.
Yeah.
And do you remember, like, he played a lock-in game and it was doo-doo. So he is going to need the same time and the same patience as Busio. Only he's just not going to like get the same passes, I don't think. And because he's a solo, he's like, Busio has like a built-in veteran there with him where he kind of shares responsibility and stuff. Like, like just imagine things going bad in the bot lane. People go, well, Doublelift is kind of washed. Like there's always something like that. Busio kind of has some safety outlets, and Tenacity doesn't really have the same thing. Excuse me. Holy cow. So I think it's a more challenging road for him, and I'm interested to see where it lands. I want him to feel free to play a looser, more aggressive game, because honestly, I think that's when he is going to be able to do his best, is if he plays a little unhinged. You just remember those 100x games where it'd be like, it didn't matter what happened. Those guys could be down like 15K and doing the last stand at the Nexus and just smurf a team fight and win the whole game. Like they did that so many times, and they would just go for these really weird plays and stuff. Like, I don't want that DNA to be completely gone from him.
Agreed.
So very interested to see. I feel like it's going to be a recurring topic for us, right? On the performance of those two guys versus the hype level for those two guys, and like where the balance is hitting. And hopefully Tenacity is given a little bit longer leash than I think people are willing to at this point.
Yeah, it is interesting with him. I feel like Busio this is a masterful example of a case, of the power of a narrative. Being formed by somebody, and we'll talk about this more, who is, I think, probably the most skillful person in the entire NA league scene at forming a narrative. And that's Doublelift. Busio has the Doublelift advantage. And it's not just in how he learns the game, learning from one of the GOATs. Like we hear about that a lot.
Yeah.
You can tell they have a good, like, understanding partnership. He's talked about how he scouted him, this is the reason I want to come back to the LCS. This is really what got my competitive itch going again. Like, Doublelift has hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers. I think it's like 700K right now. That's a lot of people who have a very well groomed view of who Busio is and his place in the LCS.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, I don't want any of this to sound at all like it's a criticism. I think Doublelift has done this masterfully. And the other thing he's talking about, and I think this is actually really, really interesting, and we're kind of getting into the next thing here. I don't know if
we're going to roll right into it. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things he talks about with Travis is he's actually, and I think this is actually really powerful, and I hope it's true. I hope it's as true as he, and I hope he, I hope he believes this with the same conviction that he said it with.
Yeah.
It sounds fully genuine. And I think a lot of these things, it's the resilience of these ideas gets tested when you hit 500. right? When you
Yeah.
start losing games you shouldn't or don't expect to, or the fans don't expect you to lose. But I genuinely believe that that's where he's at right now, Doublelift. But he talks about how he wants to win for Busio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to make this kid's career what I think it deserves to be. That's both really cool, and it puts him in an incredibly favorable light
Yeah.
for everybody who's watching the team. Like, how can you not root for that storyline?
Right.
That's Busio. Nobody's crafting a narrative for Tenacity, and again, that's not a problem. That's not anyone's fault. It's just not there in the same way. And these guys they have the exact same length of LCS career, right? So I think you're spot on. My hope is that they each get equal patience, leash, time, so that we can see what they're made of, right? And I think the power of a good narrative is you increase the duration that people are willing to give you when it comes to, like, I don't know. When do you think the first time somebody will say we need to pull Tenacity is the split? It's going to happen. It will happen at some point.
It's going to be next week.
It will be, yeah, whatever the answer is, it's way too soon, right? That's the actual answer. But because because he doesn't have all of that, right? That public, the press, the narrative, I think he's going to, unfortunately, it's going to come sooner than it has any justification coming. And maybe it's next week. But yeah, I think so far I'm liking what I see. He basically was a piñata that distracted Immortals into throwing away their entire game. So that's cool. Like,
kind
we're not going to
of
accomplish that.
someday-ish, right? In a way.
Honestly, like, yeah, oh, you got him, but you literally blew every cooldown in your entire team, and all the rest of our team is standing here. So
Yeah.
Okay. And we've talked enough about the Jackson, the Cassante. I hope we get this guy Cassante. Like, I hope we don't just permaban Cassante now. I mean, let's see him play it.
If we're blue side, maybe not.
Yeah, if we get first pick on it and we can lock it for him, do it.
Yeah.
Let's see it. And we got to do it before they hotfix the champ. But if we can get it for him, I think it'd be fun to watch. It'd be a good test.
Yeah, it'd be a fun champ for him. Well, anyway, I like I said, so thank you for saying all that, because I feel just these guys, like you said, they have the same length career. These guys are the same age. They're both 19.
Right. That's crazy.
I know Tenacity's been kind of like a name that we've known for a long time.
Yeah.
But don't let that fool you into thinking that he's had his shot, or like he's, we know enough about him to judge yet. We just don't. Okay. Before we do listener takes, I wanted to talk about the content situation just a bit. Specifically, look, I'm sure this is going to be a recurring topic on the show all split long. So I kind of want to narrow the focus into what we got out of Doublelift, because one of the things that Jungle Juice said to us when we interviewed him was that they were not going to really have much long form content in the content plan from 100 Thieves. And part of their content plan was relying on the players to put out the content. Now, surely signing Doublelift was, intentional with that purpose in mind. And we got our first video out of Doublelift where he was basically saying, what happened this weekend. And it was an interesting watch. So maybe if you're okay with it, I just ask you what your first impressions are of this, and then maybe we can talk. I want to get into, like, I think there's some definite pros and cons to this, and I want to just talk through those a bit. So, but first, what are your general impressions of that content?
I mean, I think it's one of the most compelling pieces of content I've seen coming from an org. Right? He's affiliated.
The Doublelift organization.
He receives his paycheck from 100 Thieves. I understand why he has a big audience. It's kind of interesting, right? Like, as good as he is at League, you can see how 2 years of streaming has made him that much better of a streamer and like a content creator. He's always been good. He's always been a compelling figure. Like, I didn't watch a ton of him. I didn't watch the co-streams with him and Medios and Sneaky.
Yeah.
Like, I'm joining the party late in that sense. I can see why he has the audience he does. He's super, super compelling, funny. Like, and he just says a lot of stuff that I don't think most people will say. Calls it like he sees it, like all that stuff. So that's my initial reaction is, yeah, I could, and it looks like the views are hitting the levels where we should probably expect to see more of this. Because I think from a content standpoint, that's, I think he was ready to give up his content career, but if he can keep his YouTube channel going, then do both, you know?
Yeah. So first of all, I agree. I thought it was really entertaining, and he has a manner of speaking where you can listen to him for a long time and stay engaged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, that's all good. And hey, honestly, like if you're talking about what does the league audience want, if you want like a pro player just honestly saying what's on his mind about the game, that's probably like at the top of the list, you know?
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
underneath power rankings for some reason. Anyway, but there's something I noticed watching him do this, and you notice he was watching back like the Sneaky Medios stream.
Yes. He wasn't watching the VOD. He was watching the co-stream.
Yeah. Look, I gotta say this, and I'm sure other people notice this. I'm sure I'm not the only one, and I don't mean to like make an overblown observation here. That dude, Doublelift, admitted on stream so many times how wrong he was, whether intentionally or explicitly or not. He went back and forth so many times on different stuff. He's talking about the decisions they made, like, yeah, that was a bad decision, that was dumb, and like, and it's just like, okay. And then while he's doing that, I'm listening to the comments that Sneaky and Medios are making, and they're wrong about stuff. You know, like they're like judging like the draft went this way, so this is gonna happen, and like they react to stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, how can anybody know something about League of Legends if these seasoned, established pros are getting stuff so wrong so frequently?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And yeah. So it felt like kind of this weird view into, hey, you know how you encounter people online with really strong takes about teams or players or games and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you get the sense that they're like feeding in whatever the pro players are saying. Like, it's like, okay, that Sneaky fan over there is saying this.
Yeah.
That Medios fan is saying this.
Mm-hmm. I think they've been watching Ellis's new content. Yep. Picking it up.
No one knows a thing. It just seems like no one knows a thing. And I don't mean to single out these guys that I'm mentioning by name, because I think this is universal. I think I texted you. I was like, yeah, Bwipo's getting some stuff wrong on stream. Like he's calling some stuff and it just goes the exact opposite way. And I think Bwipo's like, he's an excellent color caster. He needs to learn to talk less.
You're on record saying that he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love having him on the thing, but it just seems like nobody knows anything. So maybe it's not as wise to just parrot those opinions all the time. I don't know. It's weird. So it plays into that whole like cult of personality thing that we see in the league scene so often. And it's just kind of like a little icky and uncomfortable, because it would be one thing if like everything they were saying was accurate or true, or he could like, you know, there were some times where he was like explaining like the draft or something. And he's like, I don't even know why we did this. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, but surely at the time you did.
Right.
What was it?
Or like you had a chance to voice
like
that.
What was
at the time.
Or if you did think that at the time, like, yeah, what happened? Then why did you still do it? Or whatever, you know, like why was it the game plan? And say something about that. And so it's like this weird, I've just had a weird reaction to it, because on one hand, I really like the entertainment value of it. On the other, I feel like it's just like, well, there's nothing firm to be gained from this other than entertainment.
we know more about how he feels the game went than basically any other player through the course of Under Thieves League of Legends. You know, post-game interview is not going to give you nearly as much insight into that. Here's what I'll say. I think the risk of this, and there are different ways that this can be mitigated. So I'm not going to say that this is like absolutely a bad idea. I think there's a lot of ways this could be fine. I think the risk of it is, look, Sneaky and Medios, are entertainers through and through.
Yeah.
They're not, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. They are paid at this point to make League fun to watch with them. And they're going to be joking, and they're going to be spitballing, and they're going to be just saying stuff that's based not on they're not on the we don't have a desk anymore. But like their job isn't to be analysts.
Right.
They are entertaining. And I think if one of the things I think could be a risk is like I'll use the closer ganks in mid, right? They were like they kept this thing going, and this is the long running spoof on Bjergsen is that he's an incredibly demanding player. Bjergsen and his 4 wards or whatever it is, over time it's evolved. I think there's actually a risk that people on the team will put more weight to the jokes and the entertainers if this is what they feel Doublelift's actual opinion is, right? Like, do you think that I am on a leash for Bjergsen and that I'm just doing whatever he wants? Because that's an actual strategic concern we have to work out here. Like, I went there because it felt like the right play to me. And so we have to work out if that's not actually what the right play was. But I think as soon as it turns into like, if the joke is what becomes the narrative, that's a problem. I think that could divide the team. It could lessen the effectiveness of their ability to actually analyze games together. If some of this like co-stream stuff starts to work its way back in.
Yeah, and it just becomes a frustration point for people.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can go another way too. And this is where I was kind of going with it, is that at some point, so someone brought up in chat, like, maybe he is just kind of like saying what he's saying and doing content, and he's like, can't really talk about what happened because there are reasons for that, like maybe you don't want to talk about, well,
right.
we did the draft because freaking Cass said we should do this, and I hated that idea, You can't
right.
do that, right? And so that becomes a problem too, because it's like, all right, well, what kind of grievances are you going to air on the stream? And if you are protecting those kind of ideas, then you're not being honest. And maybe that's why it's clear to see that you're not right so often. I don't know. So it's a weird situation. And when, after we did that interview with Jungle Juice, we were both kind of thinking like, all right, so they're just kind of going to trust these guys to keep in line. I feel like, given Doublelift's history, it wouldn't be that surprising for him to go off the rails at some point with what he says, and maybe reveal too much or give too much away in something that's like unflattering to a staff member or another player or something. So kind of playing with fire.
This is where you have to hope that all of this has been well talked through.
Yeah.
And that everybody on the team understands exactly. And like he actually said at one point, right? He's like, I don't think Busio should have back there. I've talked to him about it. Right. So what you have to hope is there is a team version of this conversation that's happened, and everybody understands that is his opinion and stance on these things, and this is the content version. But I think your concerns and precautions are well placed.
I'm kind of hoping it's a situation where like the team just basically ignores the content and never watches it, and hopefully doesn't hear about it.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, honestly, it's harmless. This week was harmless. Yeah. Maybe it will continue to be harmless. Hopefully it will continue to be harmless. And then look, hopefully to your point, hopefully the fans can contextualize entertainment versus analysis, and we don't muddy the waters with stuff. But I just feel like it's a pool of like I see us talking about certain situations happening in the future, and then having our Twitch chat be like, well, Doublelift said blah 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 blah, and being like, okay, sure, right. Like that's another just angle of this thing, and it's a little uncomfortable.
Look, here's another angle to this. What's the alternative? And I think that is where
the heist. 2023, which is why
The heist.
just do the views and sell the jerseys. Let's go. Save esports.
I mean,
save 100 Thieves.
We talked about this last season. It was what is actually winning in the LCS look like? Is it a trophy or is it, being financially viable? And I'd say we've tried one. I don't know that we have as much success with the other. So to a certain degree, like there's a risk that I think we are taking. I assume we're taking it with our eyes wide open.
Yeah.
But this guy's got a massive audience.
Yeah, he does.
This video that he did, like how many views did our most viewed heist get?
Great question. I don't actually know the answer to that, so maybe someone can research for us. I'm
But I
looking at
guarantee you,
he got almost 200,000 in a day.
Yeah, in a day. So I think there's also like a balance sheet view of this, which is lean into the risk, right?
Yeah. Yep, that's probably most
I
accurate.
expect to see more. And honestly, I hope to see more because it was entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. I watched it. Yep, I liked it.
All right, well, let's move on to some listener takes so we can close out the show.
Wow. BC just said heist finale had 220K.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I know that is not the most watched heist. Most watched heist is in the first season, and it's probably one of the first 4 episodes. But still, this 200,000 for Doublelift, that is no small number. Okay, let's do some listener takes. Let's kind of move through them quickly. JC101 said more Azir versus Heimer support. We were winning lane, but didn't capitalize.
Yeah.
Tis but a small moment, the early game. I think maybe with some more comfort there to be like more initiatory in team fights, I think I'd be okay with that. Certainly looked like we were winning the lane and doing great though. So
yeah, I'm not ready to throw it in. That like no slouch berserker, and
yeah, sure.
People talk about him as being the best ADC in the league. So to win that lane is no small feat. I think I'd put it in the karma file for now, which is I'm not ready to throw out the concept.
Yeah.
And if the right opportunity presents itself again, I wouldn't call for anyone to be investigated if we locked it in.
Another thing on Azir support from Sammy, he said, people can meme on the Azir support. However, I love that our rookie in his first LCS game has the courage to pick something like that. It's very promising in my opinion, like when I watch a younger soccer player actually have a go and take people on. More of it, please. So I think that's right along with what you were saying, right?
Yeah, totally.
To our Doublelift conversation, All-Star said, Doublelift's analysis video on the 2 games is one example of stellar content. But as far as orgs go, we need to continue to step up our content beyond the small Twitter and TikTok vids. Golden Guardians and many others had awesome large-scale content week 1. I haven't seen any of the TikTok stuff that we did, so someone's going to have to enlighten me. Like, I am fully boomer. I do not participate in TikTok. I installed it once for 5 minutes, and the things it suggested to me were of no interest to me and a little creepy. So TikTok was promptly uninstalled. I don't know. We got the clear answer that like it's not part of the plan for this split and maybe this year.
Yeah. Look, all I'll say is if the team can find some way to capitalize on the popularity of the people on this team, they should do that.
Yeah.
If they want to make content because they think it's a path to growing the team's audience, they should give that idea up, I would say.
Amax legit did say not doing some sort of long form week to week content piece with this roster is a huge missed opportunity. And hopefully there's something in the works. And I think there is something to be said for that, where it's like, of all the years we don't do long form content, it's the year we have Doublelift and Bjergsen on the team.
Mm-hmm.
That is a little troll.
It's going to be like Doublelift and Bjergsen go to a petting zoo. It's, like, I don't want to see that. I think the reason people are excited right now is because we're getting something we've never had before, which is Doublelift just talking about being a professional player.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And So I don't know. I guess I'm not convinced that the return looks any different to convince the org that this would be the time to really get into that. Because I think people are going to just default back to, I've got my noties turned on for Doublelift YouTube, and I'll watch that. Like, that's cool. I like that. Like, it's almost like we're competing with him in a way for content and views.
Yeah.
And I don't have confidence that we can beat him.
Yeah, I don't think we'll win.
Yeah.
So might as well not spend the money, right?
Yes.
Crockpot said, Doublelift and Bjergsen not as washed as we thought. However, if we pick aggro mid like Silas and expect him to do anything on that, we will lose. And then he says, Tenacity is Himothy, and the fact that he kept up with Fudge until Cassanta'd is a very promising sign. As for closer, as long as it's not Poppy.
Although
even
we said the same about Sejuani in the past.
It looked
maybe
better.
His Poppy is crisp.
Yeah. So
he's in his off season just getting reps in on Poppy and Sejuani.
Crockpot generally positive, warm to the team. As I think are we. I think this is isn't it funny that here's 100 Talk at the beginning of a split saying we got to give these guys some time. Speaking of, Tatted Sparrow says spring split is going to be very underwhelming. Bot lane might be our worst area too. So I'm not sure I agree with the bot lane thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you think about it on paper, it's like, well, closer's, routinely a top jungle. Bjergsen is Bjergsen. So it does set a high standard for bot lane, I guess. But it is Tenacity in the top lane, and we expect that to be a little bit slower. But it looked good in lane. I mean, we did have insanely strong picks. So let's see, maybe if we don't have such dominant picks in the bot lane, if we're still able to either keep pace or even get a lead. Right. So something to keep an eye on there.
We really didn't talk about Bjergsen at all. And
no,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think, I don't have concerns right now. I feel like I'm kind of holding until we get to see a little bit more. Like, yeah, his Victor looked great, but again, it's Immortals. Like, how much are you gonna take away from that?
All right, so we're gonna jump from rapidly back and forth from one take to the next in terms of outlook, in terms of opinion. Joelito said scorching take, but the org might quit on this team before the team quits on itself.
Ooh, I like
opposite
that
of every roster we had. I asked him for some more context to this.
Yeah. He refused.
He said, he said no and sent me a middle finger emoji. Or what did you call it? What did you call the emoji earlier? I don't know. Anyway, Emojicon. That's right. Emojicon. Thank you. He said in the past the team had the heist, so even in our darkest Ryoma hours, it still felt like the org was supporting our guys. Our last team knew their ceiling, but they stuck together to try and achieve a bit more. Even without as much content, it was still clear an investment was being made since it was one of the pricier rosters. And finally, Papa was always a beacon that at least we have an adult who knows the scene in the room that will be a public-facing figure. So he says now there's a much shorter leash on the team and org in general and less obvious support from higher-ups. Content is an L. While the team may not be as pricey, I doubt Doublelift, Closer, and Bjergsen can be considered frugal investments, especially on their next contract. I feel like this team will not get a year 2 or 3 renewal like the previous Someday and Golden Guardian Friends iterations unless we overperform. If we stick true to our expected middle of the pack and playoff run team, org might call it quits and go budget and star rookies academy. So the take here is that we may be seeing like the last try, I guess, at like, any sort of like roster investment because it's not looking like it has a ton of support. Of course, those conclusions are being drawn from the content situation, and I do think that it is much more of like a choice. Like the content thing is much more of a choice and not necessarily indicative of support of the team, but at the same time, it's like you do want to show off your wares though. As an org. And like they're clearly going to do that with the Valorant team. So I don't think it's entirely off base to say that. But that's funny. The org might quit on this team before the team quits on itself.
Yeah, I like that take. And the thing that I worry about is I thought of it in a different light, which is let's say that we're a 500 team halfway through the split. They could all be still strongly convicted that they've got what it takes. They're on the right track. We've got Unforgiven in the wings. Like, at what point do we start seeing things change? We've got Sniper coming up. Like, I mean, that's one of the biggest things about this team. We've talked plenty about it, but it's the belief they have in themselves. It's Doublelift saying that he thinks he's on track to be the best ADC in the league again.
Yeah.
And, that appears to be his genuine sentiment. And he's been honest to say, I'm going to need time to ramp up. I've been away for 2 years. I got to shake off the rust. So I think there's another angle on this, which is at some point does management, maybe this is less like the org and more the management, but do they start saying, nah, we're not progressing at the rate we want. Yeah. We're going to make some changes. I personally, I hope that we don't get to that point in time soon, because we've seen that playbook before, and it's rough.
It is very
rough. It's never as easy as anyone hopes it will be. So
that would be a dark.
I'd almost rather us just kind of like make it through with this roster, even if we're not feeling super optimistic, just to avoid the massive disruption that changing pieces brings in.
Yeah. I just want to read this straight out of chat because it's actually a very funny thought from It's Niction, who says, imagine Doublelift wins Worlds under 100T and there's been no videos. That's actually hilarious. The miracle run happens and there's no content being made about it. And they make history for NA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's no record.
That's actually hilarious. Sen says, classic 100 Thieves start. Not worried. However, I expect to lose to FlyQuest, CLG, and low-key TSM because we are not in form yet. We will lose to teams with previous team experience because of team chemistry already established. We have talked about the chemistry advantage, right? About like these guys have played together. And I'm not sure it's that big of an advantage. Like, I think in different ways it manifests itself, but I don't know about you guys, but I never felt like 100 Thieves is starting out hot because we have been the same team for 3 splits in a row. It was like, we started out slow like every year. So at least not for us. Maybe for some other teams. I mean, C9 looked good to me.
Mm-hmm.
But FlyQuest did too. And that's a brand new thing. So hard to tell.
So did Team Liquid Honda. Those
but
guys are popping.
But I do think what Sen said about losing to teams like that, I think yes, we're not in form yet, and we shouldn't expect to be soon. So, it's the dads. This is our brand. We're just chilling and waiting.
Exactly right. We got plenty of time. I think I don't know what the world's format changes are, so I'm excited to learn more about those at some point. I know that I have time, so I'm not rushing to it, but we got to make worlds, right? Like, this is not a situation where we say, okay, if they're not, in the finals, both splits, time to blow it up. Like, just get to worlds.
Well, I asked Sen where he sees us landing at the end of the split, and this is what he says. He said, going to playoffs, but losing spring. Then we go to playoffs and win summer. So Sen is high on the long-term trajectory.
In summer. Nice, Sen. I like that. That's good to hear.
But he's not the boldest of the bold. That, my friend, that honor belongs to Dr. Nolly.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Dr. Nolly said simply 3 words. We're winning worlds. Before you write off Dr. Nolly's take, this is the man. This is the man who boldly went on Hotline League at the beginning of last year and said Team Liquid is going to miss playoffs or miss worlds. Sorry.
Yeah, miss worlds.
And got laughed at.
Yep.
And was right. And not only did he do that, I'm pretty sure in the take, he predicted the whole trajectory of the season, pretty accurately. So Dr. Nolly's the reigning prophet, right now. So
Nostradamus level. Yeah. Dr. Nostradamus.
Nostradamus.
Dr. Nostradamus. Congratulations, Dr. Nostradamus. Well, and thank you. Congratulations and thank you.
Congratulations to us. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll happily take this world win for you so that you can maintain your status.
Jordan, do you agree with the take? No, I'm just kidding. Let's look at next week. We got a super week, as we mentioned earlier. First game 1 versus the Dignitas Alien Heads. Dignitas tied for 7th, aka last, sitting at 0-2 after losses to good-looking CLG team and a very good-looking FlyQuest team. So, feel like we know nothing. Do you take us over Dignitas?
Yes.
And why?
Because they're Dignitas.
Because they're Dignitas. I love that. Do you remember Dignitas was our final boss for like a whole year?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they final bossed us in the past. That era is gone. They're just the most swagless. I will never predict them if they've not shown me that I ought to. You know? They're as you rightly call, they might as well sell their naming rights to someone who's willing to give them $20 to call themselves Dignitas Alien Head. That's why I'm gonna leave it.
Santorin,
that's you. That person's
Santorin
you, by the way.
Jensen. Yeah, it is me. Santorin and Jensen on this team. Look, this is what it's starting to feel like to me. And I mean, this is gonna sound pretty disrespectful. And I want to make it clear that I think Jensen was a very good mid. Right.
Yeah.
But it's beginning, the Jensen and Bjergsen thing is beginning to feel like how Paul Pierce wants to like repeatedly insert himself into the conversation in the NBA, be like, no, I was so good, bro. I was so good, man. We had LeBron in shambles. It's like, yeah, you beat him once. You did once.
Yeah. There was a game or two.
Yeah. And then he like absolutely puts you in your place and you never recovered. So it's starting to feel a little bit like that. Like Jensen is the Paul Pierce of LCS. And that's too bad for him. I don't have anything against him. So I'm going to take us against Dignitas as well. I also think there's some potential for us to see our first top lane win experience with Tenacity. I think against Armet, who, as long as we ban Gnar, Tenacity could toy around a little bit, shake things up. So that's what I'm hoping for.
I hope we get blue side.
Me too.
We blue side. Ban Gnar, pick Cassante.
Yeah, we can be in the Cassante seat. So I think we win that one. Game 2 versus TSM. TSM 2-0. Tied for first place. Talk of the town.
Wow.
They beat Immortals after a weird game, and they beat Team Liquid after what was a weird game as well. So do you believe in the initial TSM hype? Are they going to beat us?
That would be sad if they did. I don't look. I'm going to put a plug in here. I've been watching my TSM games via Recap Minion on Twitter. If you don't follow him, go follow him.
Shout out Recap Minion.
I gotta say, Recap Minion, love what you're doing. I don't have the greatest analytical understanding of TSM based on his videos. He just doesn't. It's not the format for that. So I don't know how good they are actually, man. But I gotta say this. I don't believe in TSM. Similar to Dignitas, I need to see TSM like put together a string of convincing wins, and then I'll consider it. But right now, they're in my do not pick category. I'm picking us.
The thing you didn't mention about TSM.
They have Solo.
They have Solo. That's right.
Yep.
They have Solo.
Yep.
Exactly.
Sorry.
And I don't know if you've seen Solo's hair lately, but it's going to be impossible to pick them. Here's what's probably going to happen. Given Solo, my relationship to Solo's relationship to 100 Thieves players, he's gonna like kill Tenacity like 4 times in lane when Tenacity like misplays some aggression, and it's good. They're gonna be in the lead, and then we're gonna turn it and win inevitably. That's what I think is gonna happen. So I also think a win against TSM, starting Super Week out 2-0, and then we get Team Liquid, bottom of the barrel Team Liquid.
But can I say, I think Solo should consider playing League with either a hockey or lacrosse helmet on, because that's the vibe I'm getting from his hair.
It's not beautiful enough for hockey. I'll say that.
He didn't make the all hair team.
No, he didn't make the all hair team.
Yeah, my thing is showing Super Week is the 15, 16, 17.
Oh, is it? Hold on. Did I totally goof this? One second. We
I could be.
have Thursday, February 2nd. Oh, look at me skipping ahead a week. My
I
fault.
think you skipped at 2 weeks.
My fault. So we don't even have to predict that. 2-0 weekend incoming.
Hey, 2-0 weekend.
Sorry about all that Super Week nonsense, everybody. That's just because I'm excited for the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't know where that came from. No, it's the next week.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing we don't have to pick whether to watch the
week.
Super Bowl or LCS, Cole. I'm relieved, personally.
Well, like I said, our podcast is getting flagged for misinformation on this episode. Super Week was one of those. So never mind. We are predicting a 2-0 weekend.
We did. It doesn't happen very often. Steady pointed out in chat that they've already announced the next champion. So it's lost. It's a lost cause.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'm sure they'll be balanced.
Good. Our listeners know us by this point. Yeah, it's all done.
Can I just quickly, in our closing remarks section of this show?
Sure.
Can I just say, Cole, I feel less hatred and rage about this schedule than I thought I might. Can I even go so far as to say I kind of liked having a weekend without a whole bunch of league games? Maybe this is part of the problem. They've made it easier for me to not watch League of Legends, which I don't think is what they're aiming for. But that's kind of what I wanted in my life. Maybe they just knew me better than I knew myself.
That's exactly the problem. It was nice. It was a nice weekend. And that's because I didn't have to watch a bunch of League of Legends. The problem is I can't speak for you, but I'm virtually never going to get to watch a game live again. A 100 Thieves game.
Yeah.
It's just like, as long as we're on this schedule, I'm virtually never going to be able to watch one. Unless my kids are away for the week or something. Right. Like, so sad.
And you've lost your job.
Perma
which
VOD
would also
squad.
be a bummer.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
So
Perma VOD squad, but at the same time, kind of felt nice, didn't it? I had the most relaxing Saturday. Other than the birthday party for my 9-year-old with a bunch of 9-year-old girls running around in my house. Other than
super
that
relaxing
time, I was like, wow, this is kind of nice. I'm kind of checked out.
Yeah.
Feeling like an adult right now.
What's that, Cole? Valorant getting ready to start up. Don't forget about CDL.
I did watch the CDL game. Not live.
I didn't.
But I did watch the VOD last night.
I didn't realize there was games this weekend.
Sounds like it's time for a COD VOD squad.
The LCS just got me completely checked out. I'm not even an esports fan anymore. I just watched the
LCS just gave everybody a vacation. Like, yeah, we don't care about it, so why would you?
Yeah. Hey guys, we're gonna let you know a secret. You don't actually like to watch all these games.
We know you better than you know yourself.
Just pick one or two.
How do you think
it's
we've
enough.
Extracted all your money on skins? All right. Well, I kind of agree with that take. That's probably the most agreeable take this week. Saturday and Sunday were kind of nice.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for us tonight. Jordan, my friend.
Yeah.
Good to be back. Good to see you.
It's been very fun to be back. It's good to see you. Twitch chat, it's good to see you. Podcast listeners, it's good to know that somewhere you're listening to the pod.
Yeah. Thanks for supporting your dads. Rec League on Thursday. We'll see you there. Stick around in our Discord or follow us on Twitter. We'll put a sign-up sheet out on Wednesday. And get ready to have some fun there. And get ready for the non-Super Week 2-0 weekend. It's gonna be a really good week. One more item of business I forgot. I need to issue a formal apology / recognition to the Flight Check boys. Congratulations on having what is easily the best looking team at the moment. And I wish you continued success. Hope everything goes well for you. I hope that your team's investment in players and content is not ill-timed and ill-fated. We'll see if that's borne out or not. But in the meantime, enjoy the ride because you guys are looking like you're in the catbird seat. You know what I'm saying?
Yay. You're driving the LCS bus right off a cliff. Here we go.
Someone's got to do it. All right. Everybody, we will see you on Thursday. And if not, we will see you the following Monday. We love you and we miss you all.